as much in his opening presser.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need a point guard.
Yep.
Anybody who watched the Kings last year went, they kind of need a point guard.
Yeah.
God bless Malik Monk, but like, man, they really need a point guard, not a shooting guard running the point.
Yeah, well, everyone who watched the Kings last year after the first 55 games, they had a point guard. And then they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So, just to make sure we're on the same page.
Right. So we're going to dive in today. We're going to look at each position.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about free agents, trade ideas, in-house options. But before we get into that, we got to see where the Kings roster is at. We talked about some guys who are on the roster. They have a bunch of unrestricted free agents. I think the most notable, like Jay Crowder's on that list. Doug McDermott's on that list. I don't think those are guys the Kings are probably clamoring to get back in the building. Maybe they do, but it's not going to be a difference maker on the roster, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with Jake LaRavia, because to me, that is an unrestricted free agent who the Kings should 100% be trying to retain. Not that he's going to go be 15 points a night. He might not even be 10 points a night. He's never going to put up big numbers. You probably don't want him starting for you, but on a roster that lacks size, perimeter defense, lacks guys that just do the little things on the margin where their role is the little things.
Mm-hmm.
Jake LaRavia is a perfect fit. And to me, they need more of that type of player, not less. It's not going to be necessarily super easy to just be like, hey, Jake, here's 4 years and $16 million. Do you want to come play basketball for us, though?
Yeah, it's super complicated. So basically, when he was with the Memphis Grizzlies, they decided not to pick up his 4th-year rookie scale option. And so when he got traded to the Kings, he came with that like little asterisk on his contract. Like his contract ends at the end of this year. He's an unrestricted free agent. And on top of that, the Kings cannot exceed what he would have been paid in his 4th year. So this is a way that the NBA gets around superstar player plays out his first 2 years. You know he's a superstar. Then you don't pick up his 3rd year, his 4th year. Mm-hmm. So in that way you can give him a massive extension a year early.
Basically what they did with Malik Monk.
Well, Malik...
Kind of?
No, it's a little different.
2 years with the...
Okay, well, Malik wasn't coming off his rookie scale. So right. He was a free agent that they signed him because they had only signed him to a 2-year deal. They didn't have full Larry Bird rights. They only had early bird rights to him. So when
he didn't sign a 4-year contract.
No, but rookie scale is different because Jake LaRavia initially signed it was a 2-year deal with a 3rd year and 4th year option because that's what rookie scale contracts look like in the NBA. Okay. And then every October, it's right around Halloween. Yeah, I think it's October 31st. You have to pick up the next year option, right? Okay. Well, Memphis decided not to pick up that 4th year option. And so he played out this entire year knowing that he was only going to be 3 years as a rookie scale player. Right. And then that 4th year is gone. Now, here's the problem. The Kings can only play, it's $5.16 million, so almost $5.2 million. The Kings are the only ones who are restricted to this salary cap number. So if he would have stayed at Memphis and not got traded to the Kings and become a free agent this summer, the Kings could have exceeded $5.2 million where Memphis couldn't. Now the Kings are in this weird spot where they can't pay him more than that, right?
Okay.
And for me, like I really like Jake LaRavia. Like what we saw, the defensive intensity was great. The hustle was great. Mm-hmm. He hit some 3-point shots. He was a little sloppy. It was a little all over the board. He really didn't play a lot his first 2 years in the league. Mm-hmm. And this was his first year of staying healthy. But then he didn't. When he got to the Kings, he had some bumps and bruises, and then he ended up missing the final, I don't know what it was, 8 games of the season or whatever, because he had a thumb injury. And the thumb injury was very different from the injury that kept Domantas Sabonis out. So now the Kings are in this situation where they can only offer him $5.2 million as a starting salary. But if he signs a 1-year deal, at the end of that 1 year, he's still an unrestricted free agent, but the Kings would have full Larry Bird rights. They can sign him to a 2-year deal with a player option for year 2, which would at least give Jake LaRavia a little bit more like insurance.
If he is just total ass, he can at least opt in and make $5-ish million,
5.7 or 5.8 million the next year, right? So I think that what we'll probably do is the Kings will probably offer him that contract exactly, a 2-year deal, the second year being a player option. And then if he's really good, then next summer you'd revisit the same exact thing.
Right.
Now, the problem is that they can't go higher than that. So if some other team says, hey, we'll give you a 3-year, $18 million deal, he might say, okay, well, I'm going to take it, especially if it's in a state other than California that doesn't have, state income tax, which is another almost 10% of his salary is going to go straight to the state. You go to another city, you go to, anywhere in Texas or Florida, you're not going to have to pay that state tax. So that might be something that weighs on him. But at the same time, if you're the Kings, I like Jake LaRavia, but Jake LaRavia, because of the injury question marks, has played himself into more of a fourth forward, a third or fourth forward. If he's healthy, probably a really solid third forward. You don't consider him a starter, even though he's like 23 years old.
Right.
But you also, there's a potential for him to start, but he's got to prove that he can stay healthy because he hasn't done that at all in the first 3 years. So it really puts the Kings kind of at like this weird spot where you'd love to have him, and you don't want to go out and find another guy and offer up another second round pick to find another guy who's around that age. You don't have a first round pick to go find one of these guys. So I think for the Kings, they would love to have LaRavia back, but it's whether or not it's financially feasible, whether he gets a contract that's just bigger. I don't think he's going to get some crazy contract. I don't think he's getting a 3-year, $21 million deal or 3-year, $24 million deal. He just didn't play enough.
I think there are going to be a lot of teams who see Jake LaRavia making whatever he could make with the Kings, a little over $5 million, and go, well, we could probably find someone cheaper than that in the second round.
Yeah,
it just because that he's not going to produce at such a high level where you're like, I need Jake LaRavia specifically. No, there's a lot of his type of player in the league, which is why it's been so freaking frustrating that the Kings can't find one.
Yep.
There's a lot of his type of player in the league, and I think teams are not going to be falling over themselves to pay him more than 10.7 over 2 years.
No, I would agree completely, and it really will come down to, again, we have to keep in mind that Scott Perry is the GM now. It's not Monty and Wes, and Monty and Wes went out and spent a second round pick on him, so they might have a tie to him that Scott Perry just doesn't have, and so that's going to be another question, like how does the current Kings front office value Jake LaRavia versus the former Kings front office? And again, $5 million in salary doesn't sound like that much. I wouldn't be surprised if Jake LaRavia signs a league minimum deal. Like, again, the injuries and stuff, like him signing or a 2-year, $6 million deal. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's up in the air. And but you would like